All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Mayor and Board of Commissioners for May 25th, 2021. Can I get the roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Braun?
Here.
Commissioner Pearson?
Here.
Commissioner Shepard?
Here.
Commissioner Warnick?
Here.
Let the record show that you have a quorum.
Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you bow your heads with me for a brief prayer? Father God, I come to you tonight on behalf of our town. I ask that you watch over our citizens, Lord. I ask that you watch over our elected body. Be with those that are here with us tonight, as well as those that are online. Be with our emergency services, Lord, and our police department. Watch over our armed forces, and be with us as we leave here this evening. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Town Administrator, you did say that you had a change to the agenda. Do you want to discuss that now?
Yes, if you give me 1 second, Zoom is throwing me a little bit of a curveball. So I'm going to share my screen here. And it is not working. It's supposed to be sharing the agenda screen, and it's not sharing the agenda screen. Yeah, I have it sharing this screen, but it's not coming up on the,
One of the monitors. Okay, so stop sharing here. Because that's the monitor you want to have. So stop the sharing. Drag this over to that screen.
yeah, that's where I was.
Okay.
And when I hit the share the screen, it just wanted to share. See, it takes me out of being able to
So
control.
Click
So-
on Zoom, right there. Right there. Okay, so now, yeah, click on that. Okay, now go to the bottom, share screen.
Yeah, it's going to be a
And then
long way
pick screen, that one, right there.
on.
Yep.
All right, so I apologize, Board. That's the best we're going to be able to do with the documents here. Thank you, Commissioner Warnick. The update that we need to make to the posted agenda is two very simple things. We're still having the public hearing for the tax rates, but when we get into the business meeting items, we had to add the resolution 2021-02 for the Utility Steering Committee. And then I also wanted to update the agenda, and I'm going to speak about this, about the Board of Zoning Appeals, item number 19. I'm actually striking it from the agenda, but I want to explain why we're striking it from the agenda. So we'll take a motion of the board to approve the new agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion about the change to the agenda? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Just give me a moment, Town Administrator. All right. So first on the agenda is an open public hearing. So I will need a motion to suspend the town meeting.
I make a motion to suspend the town meeting.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded.
I make a motion to open a public hearing.
All in favor for the first motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And there's a motion on the floor to open the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Shepherd got that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, we are now in a public hearing. Town Administrator?
Okay, so what, the reason why we're here tonight is to consider the tax rate for the fiscal year 2022 budget cycle here. And basically, under state law, you guys are veterans at this now, under state law, the county assesses properties every year, and they send all the municipalities basically a certification of what the tax, how the assessed values of properties have gone up or down, and they tell you what your assessed value is, and then they tell you that based upon your newly projected assessed value, in order to bring in the same amount of tax revenue that you did the year before, they tell you whether you should increase your tax rate, keep your tax rate where it's at, or lower your tax rate. And I've always said it's a great way to be transparent with residents on exactly where the numbers are. So in this particular case, we're continuing a 3-year trend of the town's assessed values slowly increasing. You can see when you look at our notification for this year, what the assessed value was ended up being as of July of 2020 was $199,174,585 of assessed property value of all the properties. Now, I've said this before, when you go from year to year on these certificates, that starting number might be different. And the reason being is when you get to the bottom of this certificate, after it does all the calculations, it's saying that as of July of 2021, the assessable tax base is going to be $204,266,876. So when we get next year's certificate, that number might be changed because this year's number is based upon projections, and they give you what the actual number is next year. So I think for the most part, my recollection is the state thought the assessed value was going to be, I think, around $198, $197 million. So the actual real numbers came in a little higher. But what we base our tax rate on is what this number is right here, the $204,266,876. That has a potential revenue of $914,337, which is what we hypothetically brought in last year on tax revenue. So because the assessed value is higher, the state is saying that if you wanted to maintain the same constant yield of revenue, we would lower our tax rate from the current tax rate, which is 0.4600 to 0.4476 is what we could do. However, as we have discussed before, the town of Rising Sun has always been balancing its budgets on like $5,000, $10,000 surpluses, and that's not the ideal position to be in terms of running roughly a $4 million a year business. Furthermore, over the last couple of years, if you recall back in 2017, the town raised its rate to 0.48 cents per $100. And as the assessed values have gone up, the elected body has responded to that by saying, well, we're gonna, in 1 year, you actually took the constant yield tax rate, and you actually lowered the tax rate a little bit more because we know that we're trying to get economic development in the community, and to give our residents a tax break, we basically put our chips in the middle of the table and said, we're going to count on new investments that are going to come into the community in the future. So we will not only take the constant yield tax rate, but we'll lower the tax rate a little bit. Last year, again, the assessed values came in higher again, and you opted to accept the constant yield tax rate, which at that time said to go to 0.46. So we went from 0.48 to 0.47 by you lowering it a couple of years ago, and then last year you accepted the constant yield tax rate and lowered it to 0.46. The problem is, you know, as we know, we're not like some of the other communities that have a lot of reserve funds because we were in a sewer and water moratorium for so long that we didn't have any new investments being made. And I can tell you, if you remember from past presentations, in 2010, our total assessed value was $236 million. And we went through that 53% reduction in property assessments because there were no new investments. And it was an exercise in showing how the town was slowly being strangled by the sewer and water moratorium. So although we are making a comeback, we're not back to 2010 numbers of 236 million. We've made it to 204. Hopefully we keep climbing, but we're not quite to a good sustainable. And let me clarify what I mean by sustainable. The town of Rising Sun is not in jeopardy of being in financial distress. The problem is, like any business or household, you really should have a half a year's worth of reserve funds set aside. Every year you should be actually bringing in more money than you need in order to build up your reserves. But there's a give and take with that. We haven't been able to build up our reserves for the past 15 years because of the sewer and water moratorium. So we've been enacting tax rates that sort of juggle that line. As you know, last year we also reduced staffing, and this year we're running at an even leaner staff than we have in the past. So we've tightened our expenses. Our expenses are, in some respects, lower than they have been in the past. But as we talked about at the last meeting, we do have a couple unfunded mandates coming our way, one being the stormwater management, where the state is going to require us to generate about $1.8 million to reduce our environmental footprint, so to speak, as I talked about at the last meeting. That's an unfunded mandate, and we essentially have 5 years to try to figure out how to do that. In the meantime, we have vacancies in the police department. Our needs in the community have changed. We're a lot more active in doing things for the community and special events and getting behind different things. And then just the normal day-to-day increase of costs are making it more and more difficult for us to provide these services. So the recommendation is to not accept the constant yield tax rate, but keep the tax rate where we are at right now, and that is at 0.46. So we're not raising the tax rate, we're just going to keep the tax rate where it's at, and it's going to generate roughly $25,240 more dollars of revenue. When you put that in comparison to a $1.8 million bill for stormwater management, or we're going to talk about it later on, you're looking at about $900,000 of street repaving that you're going to be considering in your budget. And although we don't do that we don't pay that in 1 year's time, we finance it, we're still looking at roughly $90,000 plus a year in making those street repair or street repaving loans that we take out for this. So it's new money, and every year when we have new money, we have to adjust our tax rate accordingly. So with that, I have the resolution that would adopt this tax rate, and if the board makes a motion, we can read the resolution into the minutes, and you can make a determination on what you want to do.
Sure. Town of Rising Sun Resolution 2021-01. Do you want to read that into the record?
Sure. So, this is Resolution 2021-01, a resolution adopting the real estate tax rate for fiscal year 2022. Whereas the town located in Cecil County, Maryland is a municipality organized under the provisions of the Maryland Constitution and governed under the provisions of the local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and whereas the town is proclaimed as a perpetual entity with the right to pass laws, And whereas Chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Rising Sun titled Finance, Taxation, Business, and Trade contains provisions that grant the Board of Commissioners with the power to appropriate municipal monies for any purpose and to levy, assess, and collect ad valorem property taxes on any other type of tax allowed by law, and to have general management and control of the finances of the town. And whereas the town has received a notice from the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation that the final taxable net assessable real property base for the town of Rising Sun will increase by roughly $5,498,014, which would result in a projected increase of revenue for the 2022 fiscal year of roughly $25,290. And whereas Section 6-308 of the Tax Property Article Annotated Code of Maryland provides the concept of a constant yield tax rate and requires the Department of Assessments and Taxation to certify to all taxing authorities a constant yield tax rate that will produce the same revenue in the coming taxable year that was produced in the prior taxable year. And whereas the constant yield tax rate, as described above, suggests that the town could formally adopt a new tax rate of 0.4476, which would result in a total reduction of the real estate tax to be collected by roughly 2.8%, but would still result in the same total tax revenue collected as the prior year. And whereas the town of Rising Sun, like other small municipalities, is facing significant cost increase associated with basic services that are provided, such as street and sidewalk maintenance, park trash collection, and other amenities to our residents. However, Rising Sun is also unique in the amount of other services that are provided through real estate revenues, such as daily police patrols and protection, weekly trash, recycling, and yard waste collection, Sunfest, Spooktacular, Winter Extravaganza, Shop with the Cop, Tiger Trot, Little League Parade, Carol Sing, and other family fun activities, all while still maintaining the fourth lowest overall tax rate of all Cecil County towns and the second lowest real estate tax burden per resident in Cecil County. And whereas the past year has been difficult on our town and our residents, but we all look forward to getting back to normal and the opportunity to continue to move our community forward. Our community has begun to dig itself out of the decades-long water and sewer moratorium and is now enjoying a revitalization and rebirth of our town. The elected body is committed to meeting these challenges and improving upon the services and quality of life of our residents while keeping our tax rate per person as one of the lowest in the county. Therefore, being enacted and resolved that the town will maintain the current tax rate of 0.46 for each $100 of assessed value for the 2022 fiscal year. Now therefore be it further resolved that the Mayor and Commissioners have passed, approved, and adopted this resolution on this 25th day of 2021. And Mayor, the last thing I'd like to show you here is when I talk about the town having the lowest tax rate, I wanted to show that here. What this is unfortunately the 2020 census data has not come out yet. And we've been using this model for the last couple of years to see where we're at with the rest of the county. And there's been some significant changes since the last time you've seen it. So what this is a matrix that shows the population of each of the towns based upon 10,010 census data, what their assessed property values were as of today, property value per person, which is based upon what their tax rate is. And what I said earlier, that we have either been lowering our tax rate or keeping the constant yield tax rate, we have actually, although we have always been number 2 as the second lowest per person, and what I mean by that is here is our $204 million of assessed property value. Here is our tax rate. You divide that number by the total number of people in town, it comes out to $71,148.34. and that's for its property value per person. And when you divide the tax rate by the number of people, it comes out to each resident basically being accountable for $327.28 per person. When you compare that to some of the other communities, you can see that the other communities are above us with the exception of one. And what has also changed is there's been some flip-flopping in the middle here because some other communities have been raising their tax rate, and now they have a higher tax rate than we do. So in terms of 8 municipalities, we are dead center in our tax rate. In terms of the actual rate per $100 of value, and then if you look at it for what each person in our town hypothetically is accounted for, we are the second lowest in the county. So we've always been very conservative about our projections. We've tried to do the right thing, and this is just a further example of the efforts that you guys have been making to keep things in line with our expenses and needs. So that concludes my presentation on the Constantine tax rate.
All right, now we move into citizens' input, and that input is directly regarding the Resolution 2021-01. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak this evening, either in person here or online? All right. Moving forward into elected body deliberation. Is there any discussion regarding Resolution 2021-01? I know that we have made every effort that we could regarding this resolution, looking at our budget, looking at the needs of the town, especially in the police department, as well as other areas of the town. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now I need one more motion to reopen the town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, Town Administrator. So, under public presentations, are we going back to 2021-02?
What you really should do is, under the discussion consideration of Resolution 2021, you could have voted on it at that time. So if you want to move it to this portion of the agenda,
Okay.
you can do that.
Can we get a vote on Resolution 2021-01?
I make a motion to adopt the resolution 2021-1.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that resolution passes. And then, are we striking the motions about closing the public hearing? Is that correct?
You've already done that?
No?
I don't think, the
we
town
don't have
attorney's
to.
on board, I don't think you have to. Do
Okay.
they have to, Mayor? The town attorney?
We already did.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already closed the hearing and, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So 2021-02, which is the addition to the public presentations. Do you have that, Town Administrator?
Yes.
Okay.
So what this is a resolution to create a utility steering committee, which is very similar to what the town did in the past when we were dealing with our wastewater treatment plants in some early stages of getting the water line up and running, or getting the water distribution system up and running. And so it really starts to get very involved, and there's a lot of day-to-day decisions that in terms of planning that need to be made, and it always makes sense to have a team, and currently your charter talks about having a water and sewer commissioner, but it also makes sense to have two members of the Board of Commissioners to work closely with the town attorney and the town administrator and navigating the final navigation of the myriad of variables that come into play. We have a lot of potential partnerships that we're trying to work through on the federal, state, and county level. And this steering committee will act as a conduit back to the elected body as a whole. But it'll give the town attorney and myself the ability to move more fluidly through the day-to-day processes here. This is not something that gives the steering committee the right to commit the town to things. It's just because that ultimately comes back to the elected body. It just gives the town attorney and the town administrator a conduit to get the two members of the council on a regular basis, which this is going to become their special project going forward. So before you have resolution 2021-02 that would create this utility steering committee.
All right, the resolution 2021-02, creation of utility steering committee. Do you want to read that into record, or would you like me to read it into the record, Town Administrator?
If you'd like to read it in, that'd be fun.
All right. If it's okay if we skip the boilerplates, is that okay, Town
Sure.
Administrator?
We did
Okay.
it at the last one.
All right. Whereas the Town of Rising Sun, whereas item 13 of the section titled Departments give authority to the Commissioners to create, change, and abolish offices, departments, or agencies other than the office, departments, and agencies established by this charter, to assign additional functions or duties to office, departments, or agencies established by this charter, but not including the power to discontinue or assign any other office, department, or agency, any function or duty assigned by this charter to a particular office, department, or agency. And whereas the Town of Rising Sun is working with the Maryland Department of the Environment on water quality issues around the Town of Rising Sun, including water quality issues as identified by the Maryland Department of the Environment at Southern States, Rising Sun Elementary School, and West Nottingham Academy. And whereas there are property owners in or around the Town of Rising Sun that are looking to develop their land and make investments in the Town of Rising Sun that, if done correctly, will provide economic benefits to the Town of Rising Sun and its residents. And whereas navigating the various issues involved will require completion of daily tasks and interaction with multiple parties, federal, state, and county agencies, and whereas the mayor and commissioners deem it necessary to facilitate the efforts of the town attorney and town administrator to effectively resolve these issues and develop working plans by creating a special utilities steering committee to act as a conduit between the daily activities and the mayor and the commissioners. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and commissioners have appointed Commissioner Pauline Braun and Commissioner Joseph Shepard to serve on the steering committee and shall be charged with providing daily guidance and direction to the town attorney and town administrator on working with federal, state, and county agencies on any extension of town utilities. Can I get a motion on the floor to pass? Resolution 2021-02.
I make a resolution to create for the creation of utility steering committee, resolution 2021-02.
All right, that's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion regarding this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you, Town Administrator. All right. Now we are moving to business meeting items. Town Administrator, regarding street paving.
Yes, as we talked about, we obviously have paving needs in the town of Rising Sun, with Valley View being at the top of the list. But as you see, in terms of the way we developed the revenue to do that, there's certain steps that we had to take place and come to an agreement on how we were going to handle them. And all along, Valley View was always and still remains at the top of the list. Right now, we are looking at 5 different areas, including Valley View. And right now, one of the things we all know that COVID has done is it has increased construction costs incredibly across the board, from lumber to PVC piping to resins that go into piping. Everything's just going through the roof. So we are looking at a paving project that will be anywhere from about $750,000 to $900,000. And what I'm coming before you tonight is to get authorization to have the engineer put those projects out to bid. It's not a commitment to that money. It's, you know, we're not gonna know what the cost is gonna be till it comes out to bid. So I'm just asking if the board would, you know, give me the authorization to instruct the KCI engineers to move forward with the bid package.
Is anyone opposed to moving forward with the bid package?
I motion we move forward with the bid package.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have, I know this board and myself, especially, see some streets that we definitely need to fix. We need to go back in and finish Louise Court. We're all aware of that. We're all aware of the issue that happened with the water connections down there. We are committed to getting that fixed and to repaving that property, and to hopefully be able to have repaving done at other areas around the town as well.
Calvin, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Can we expedite KCI to get the bid out for Valley View, prioritizing that as number one? Everything else can go into a regular cycle, but if they can emphasize when they send the bid out that we need it back promptly.
Well, yes, the short answer is yes, and I've already put KCI in a position to be ready to go tomorrow morning upon your authorization. They have the advertisements and all done. The one thing is, it's going to include the entire package, but each one of them are going to be a price individually. So if the dollar amount gets too high to do everything, you can prioritize which ones you want to do.
Okay.
Now, here's two things we can do, and I know this from in the past. Sometimes we put these bids out for 30 days, but we've also put them out for 2 weeks. So I can check with KCI if you prefer. We can do it on a 2-week cycle to get the responses back in 2 weeks, because we're gonna need to have a pre-bid meeting for the contractors to come out and look at the actual location. So if it suits the project and if it suits you guys, I would be more than happy to have them
I
do it
I
in 2
su-
weeks.
I suggest we do the 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
I also assume that we solicit contractors, like we don't just throw it out there and hope that people, we're actively pushing this out to contractors. Okay.
Yeah, we have like a list of like 15 or 20 different contractors that we send this out
Yeah.
to those contracting firms.
And if anybody wants to get on that list, they should contact you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that I would add in regarding to the street paving is obviously what happened with Valley View and Louise Court was beyond our control. When we went in to repave it, the loss of those connections weren't something that we anticipated. We did the right thing. We went in and fixed them. And then obviously during the winter season, we couldn't repave. So all along, this board has talked that we were going to get this done. But we did have to wait for repaving weather. That's correct, right?
Yes. And
Okay.
now I'll just add this for whatever it's worth, is that you guys have already said it, that the conditions in Valley View are nothing that we want to see down there. But the cost has already been well over $500,000. And when you just saw me go through the process that we're gonna bring in like $939,000, although we don't pay that $500,000 up front, it's just like Ryan Drive was a couple years ago. Anybody who runs a household, you know, if your roof starts leaking, that's an unexpected expense. We've been hit now by 2 major unexpected expenses that you can arguably say go back to the day when there wasn't the right kind of oversight in the community back in the 70s and 80s, and we're bearing the brunt of that now. So,
Thank you, Town Administrator. Moving into citizens' input. Would anyone here in the audience or online like to speak this evening?
if I'm correct, I've only seen one person in the audience, and that's our Public Works Director.
Okay. Moving forward into staff reports, I don't believe the chief is with us. He had a little issue at his home. Is that correct, Town Administrator?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
An unexpected expense, just like we talked about.
Town Administrator, do you have a report this evening?
The only thing is, I'd like to see if the board would be able to do a budget meeting next Wednesday. No, I saw one head shake no.
I can't, I've already got a meeting in Elton.
Okay. I'd like to, although we're pretty much doing a streamed down budget, we do have, some things that we need to walk through. Judy has been taking the lead, on the budget this year because as you know, we've made a lot of incredible enhancements in our finance area. And we're trying to get away from, these Excel documents that have all kinds of formulas in them and start utilizing the utility billing system in our financial system that can do those numbers for us. So I want to get an opportunity to get that in front of you before you adopt the budget later on in June and to have some public discussion about some items. So is there any day next week other than Tuesday that works for people?
Can't do Thursday.
Our next, I believe, are we on we're on a 2-week cycle of the town meeting, but sometimes it gets messed up by the date. But, so I'm assuming if we don't do it next week, we're gonna have a town meeting
Yeah.
that following Tuesday.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanna do a short town meeting agenda and do the budget at that time?
I'm fine with that. I think that would be the best bet because
Okay.
next
Because-
week is scheduled with graduations and with
Right.
a
Okay.
few other
That's-
things going on.
That's my problem Thursday, graduation.
So we're done June 8th?
Geez, you got a kid graduating?
I know.
So does Joseph.
No,
No.
He's got
Oh,
another.
next year.
one more year.
So, all right, we'll make sure we're prepared to do something on June 8th and we'll get it advertised for everybody.
Okay.
Um,
That works.
The other thing that I wanted to update you on, is that, Commissioner Braun and I, attended a meeting with KCI, that she can elaborate on, but we're making progress on the MS4 requirements. That is a real, concern for a lot of the communities. We're making a lot of progress on that, a lot of great creative ideas of how to try to mitigate cost. We're also, I know the mayor was interested in this, I am having a meeting tomorrow with KCI on the next steps on the revitalization of Main Street to see what we're gonna do, with that area, what the next steps are. So we are jump-starting the revitalization on Main Street.
With
and-
16 East Main.
and 16 East Main. We're just at this point waiting for the county, and the town attorney under his report could elaborate if necessary, but we're essentially waiting for the county to get back to us on 16 East Main Street.
All right, Town Administrator, thank you. Moving forward into the, do you want to do a Town Attorney report before I go into the Mayor's report? Does Jay have anything that you need to add this evening, Jay?
No, I don't need to add anything. I'll just follow up with Calvin's thing saying the Main Street property is underway. It's not a lost cause. It's just being worked out the details.
Calvin, you have to stop
Thank you.
sharing the document to get him.
All right, moving forward into the Mayor's report. First and foremost, I did want to say a huge thank you to everyone that donated to our senior banner fundraiser, or street banner fundraising. This is the second year that we've done it, and it was completely paid for by donations online, from businesses to our residents that live here, even folks that don't live in the town. They really came together and donated. So huge thank you to them. We actually came in over budget, so the remainder of the proceeds will go to the high school. So we're excited about that. The banners are already in production. We have a great company working on that. And we're excited to see them put up. We are shooting to have them put up prior to graduation, so folks can see them. I also wanted to give just a small COVID-19 update. The Cecil County Health Department will be at Sunfest and at the Cecil County Fair this year, doing free vaccinations. So take a look at their tent. I also want to remind everyone that Sunfest is coming up. It'll be here before you know it. We are excited to host Sunfest, and we've been told that this year, because it's one of the events that have come up after regulations have been relaxed a little bit here in the state of Maryland, that we're expecting a large turnout this year. So we're excited about that. Moving forward into commissioner comments. Commissioner Braun.
I have nothing.
All right. Commissioner Commissioner Pearson.
Nothing.
Commissioner Shepard.
No report tonight.
Commissioner Warnick.
So the only thing, a couple things I have to report on is not this coming this weekend, but the following weekend. I believe it's June 5th is Sunfest, and we actually filled up with vendors for the first time ever 3 weeks prior to the actual event. So I mean, it's full. There's no open available slots, which is, like I said, it's the first time we've ever filled up that early on in the cycle. Normally, it's like last week or so. We're still adding vendors. We've been full before, but we've never been full so early. So we're excited about that. I think people are ready to get back out and have some normalcy, and I expect Sunfest will provide some of that. The other thing is I'd like to congratulate once again. Oh my God, I just drew a blank.
Pascal.
Yeah. Oh my God, he.
Starts last names with an L.
I know, it's
Jacob.
Benningfield, Jacob
Benningfield.
Benningfield.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'd just like to congratulate him on his Eagle Scout ceremony on Sunday, and
We presented him a citation.
and he was the one that completed the bridge down in the park, and I also just talked to his brother, and he will be continuing on the trail to connect for the bridge to the rest of the trail system. So,
Well, I do have some news on that, Commissioner Warnick. I also received an email thanking me for attending, even though it was Commissioner Warnick that attended the event. I obviously ate
credit. You're welcome.
that up and took credit for it. No shame in my game. So, is there anything else, Commissioner Warnick?
no, let's see what else I can represent you on.
All right, upcoming town meetings. We have a meeting June 8th, and that is going to be a budget meeting. Is that correct, Town Administrator?
Yes.
All right, and then we have upcoming events, the Sunfest Parade, 9 a.m. on Main Street, and then we have Sunfest, which will be 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. Town Hall will be closed on Memorial Day, which is Monday, May 31st.
Mayor,
Yes,
the one thing I'd like to, if we could go back to item number 19,
okay,
the Board of Zoning Appeals.
okay,
I'm showing it on the agenda because it was on the agenda, but the case that was scheduled for this Thursday has been postponed. We haven't nailed down a date yet for them to go before the Board of Appeals, because we've got to get the members of the board to commit to a date. We're tentatively looking for the week of June 14th. Once we get that determined, we will do the advertisements for that.
okay. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening? Hearing nothing, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the
Meeting adjourned.
is adjourned at